What up, guys? Kevin here. Final Fantasy 16. I need to put it up front. I am really looking forward to this game. You take Final Fantasy 16, and let's just say Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Starfield, Spider-Man 2. Every other game coming out this year releases the same day as Final Fantasy 16. I'm playing Final Fantasy 16. Game looks great. I spent my morning watching Final Fantasy 16 PAX East while I was playing Final Fantasy 14. Now that aside, I'm seeing a lot of conversation about where's the hype. This game lacks hype. Where's the hype for Final Fantasy 16? It's just not there. And as someone that is really looking forward to it, I do see other people that are really into JRPGs are really into it. But it's obvious. It doesn't have the same hype as, let's say, Final Fantasy VII Remake or even Final Fantasy 15. That game had a lot of hype going in. What's going on? What is happening? Let me tell you what's going on with Final Fantasy 16. Because you need to know. You need to know what's going on. Because this game, I haven't played it, but it looks magnificent. It looks so good. But there are issues with this game. Why is there no hype? Well, what was the last big Final Fantasy game that came out? Now I'm actually trying to think because there's been a lot. Been a lot of little games. But Final Fantasy VII Remake, that was huge. That was Final Fantasy VII. Now, it was an exclusive, I guess a timed exclusive for PlayStation, but it did come to PS5 and it did come to PC. But it was Final Fantasy VII. And that game had a lot of hype going into it just because it was Final Fantasy VII. And then at the time, it was late in the PlayStation 4 where, I don't know, what was they at? 100 million? Close to 100 million? PlayStation 4 consoles were sold by the time that launched. Yeah, so a lot of people had access to a device to play Final Fantasy VII to get excited about it, and it was Final Fantasy VII. Now, before that, the last big game that launched was Final Fantasy 15. Now, Final Fantasy 15 is a game I personally love. I personally love Final Fantasy 15. However, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't like Final Fantasy 15. But that game was given all the hype, especially after the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, which, if I remember correctly, people weren't too hot on. I think people were hot on Final Fantasy 15 because, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. We're getting away from lightning and everything. This isn't Final Fantasy 13 Versus. This is Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 looked really good. Game came out. People weren't too hot on it. Except for me, and I know a few others were. I think that really, really killed people's hype going into a new installment of Final Fantasy. Sure, we're going to get excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is, funny enough, I think made by the Final Fantasy 13 crew. But now going into Final Fantasy 16, I think a lot of people are like, no, we did this before with Final Fantasy 15. We got really excited and you didn't deliver. And now with Final Fantasy 16, which I look at gameplay and you watch real quickly, like, oh, this looks more like Final Fantasy 15. There was a clip that went last week. I'm like, God, that really looks like Final Fantasy 15. But if you remember Final Fantasy 15, I think a lot of it, like, I was just holding down a button. And whooping ass. Now, again, I like Final Fantasy 15, but I can understand why people didn't like it. And I can understand people who look at Final Fantasy 16 and go, I'll maybe wait for a sale, or I don't even have a PS5. And let's tackle that. People don't have PS5s yet. I know it's selling like gangbusters, but we're early in the PS5 generation still. And When you lock it down to one console, I think that's going to kill a lot of hype for people. Now, Final Fantasy 15, that probably got a lot of hype because I remember like a year before, they had a big demo. Remember Episode to Sky? That was some of the very first content I put on this channel that did very well. I wish I kept it up though, but my playthrough of Episode to Sky was a lot of fun. I remember I bought Type 0, Final Fantasy Type 0 came out, and then you got the beta for Final Fantasy 15. And that was like a year before the game launched, and it went everywhere. Well, I'm going to say it went everywhere. The PlayStation 4 and I think Xbox. Later it came to PC, which I did buy there. But it supported 2 platforms. So it wasn't used for console war fodder. We both got Xbox players and PlayStation players, both got Final Fantasy 15. What's the meme of the the black arm and the white arm? Was that who was that? Carl and whatever? Was it Arnold? Arnold Holden? That meme? Yeah, that was the PlayStation players and Xbox players going, sweet, we get to both play Final Fantasy. Now it's just locked on to PlayStation. Shout out to Dreamcast guy who they said, we love you, PlayStation, so that means Square Enix is being bought by PlayStation. I'm like, I never watched a video that made me dumber than that Dreamcast guy video. Shout out to him. He puts out a lot of dumb content. I get it. It's all about the hustle. But yeah, now you got Xbox guys not looking forward to, why would they look forward to Final Fantasy 15? And it's not like, oh, it'll come to Xbox, maybe next year or 6 months, a year out. No, it seems like Square Enix has said, no, we're not putting any more games on Xbox. So now not only does it feel like there's zero hope for Final Fantasy 16 to come to Xbox, Xbox guys are absolutely using it as a, no, fuck you, I hope your game sucks, I hope it's shit, I hope it's worse than Final Fantasy 15. And I don't blame them. They were sitting around waiting for Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Remember, before that game launched, it was supposed to be, like a year exclusive? And then it just never came. It never came. So, yeah. Nothing against the game, Final Fantasy 16, though Square Enix probably, I don't know if they would want to do over. They just suck at business, it seems like. They want to go all in on NFTs. They're selling Tomb Raider for $300 million. And what did they flip it? They flipped it to Amazon for $600 million or something. Just the rights. Yeah, who knows what's going on over there? But when the game is coming to one console, it's not even going back to PS4. Yeah, not that many people are going to get excited about it. You're narrowing your fan base, and it's a JRPG. I mean, how much is this going to sell? I'll be shocked if it sells like 3 million copies by the end of the year. I would be shocked. Actually, would I be shocked? I would say Tales of Arise did at least 2 million. But then again, that went everywhere. It'll be really interesting. Now, I do think the game is going to be great. I do think reviews are going to be great. I think I guessed the 90. I did the Metacritic score last year. That's how much I'm looking forward to the game. I do think it'll be a situation where I think a lot of people are hesitating, waiting, and then the reviews come out, it's going to be great. And people go, oh, yeah, this is it. This is the proper Final Fantasy. And I say that because I am playing Final Fantasy 14, which is spectacular, and it's the same people. Now, maybe people aren't high on it because they this is from the group that made Final Fantasy 14, that MMO that looks awful. I will say it does look awful. They're doing a graphics update. They did a PS5 Next Gen update, which still looks pretty good, but it does need a graphics overhaul. And the characters in Final Fantasy 16, some of them have that derpy, like a Realm Reborn face. So I don't blame them. Maybe there's people that, it's not going to be... It's the people that are making an online game they're making a single player game. But having played the online game, which plays like, it really does play like the best Final Fantasy game ever, single player wise. That's why I'm so high on Final Fantasy 16, but I can understand why people are not. And why there is, I'm not saying no hype. It just seems like people who are into JRPGs are really looking forward to it. They understand what it's going to be. And again, like Yoshi P is a god. He's my Kojima. You know how other people treat Kojima like God? Yoshi P is now my god because he's the best. He's makes great games. He produces great games, and I like watching his interviews. He's very, very interesting. Seriously, go watch the PAX East Final Fantasy 16. I think it's Can You Pet Torgal? And they did a little demonstration petting Torgal, and instead of you go up, it has the it has an input to pet him, and he swings his sword at him. That was great. It was great. But yeah, it's a game I'm looking forward to. And like, yeah, there's just so many reasons here why it's not as hyped as Final Fantasy 15 or as it should be. You know, even PlayStation doesn't have many games this year. I think this is going to be the big game, at least for me. I don't care about Spider-Man. But even that being said, I feel like a lot of people are going, well, what else is out there? Maybe The Last of Us multiplayer or something's coming out. Again, I don't know what it is. Even though Final Fantasy 16 looks, it doesn't even look that Japanese anymore. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I think my biggest issue is that I think it's the first phase where he has that scene haircut. He has like the bangs. That's the only thing that's turning me off about Final Fantasy 16. And there's a part where you gotta like crawl through a little crevice, which we all hate from God of War. I mean, it's a little left out, but you play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Oh my God. That's the entire game. All right. So that's my thoughts on Final Fantasy 16. Having no hype. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think the game's going to come out and be great. And then people are going to get around it. And again, it's not coming to PC until well after 6 months. I guess there's only a 6-month PlayStation 5 exclusivity, but they've come out and said it's probably going to take more time than that. So again, even the PC crowd, I mean, they're looking back like, okay, yeah, and then when it comes to PC, we don't buy games full price. So we got to wait another 6 months to a year for it to come down in price enough for us to finally buy it. Because we know how PC gamers are. All right. Well, there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Later.